Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So we have a relatively big piece of news here kind of coming out of nowhere, and that is that we at least have the release year, it seems like, for Avatar 7 Havens, the upcoming animated series. So of course, when this was announced, let's just quickly go back to the announcement of this. There was specifically no date whatsoever presented about this. It even noted in the press release, the new series premiere date will be announced at a later date. So we were never given anything, even a year. You cut ahead to today and the release of Toy World magazine for May 2025. And if we open this up here, you can see here, there is this little section here that seems to be to coincide with the fact that the Las Vegas Licensing Expo is coming up May 20th to the 22nd. And Paramount are going to be there, of course, at stand 0180. And right at the end here, you can see this section here. Avatar enthusiasts can anticipate a new theatrical release in January, along with a newly announced series coming in 2027. So that's the brand new news. Paramount Consumer Products and Experiences has partnered with Jazzwares for a new toy line. We've known about that for a while now. And fans can look forward to engaging with the franchise through gaming and new partnerships like Magic the Gathering. So they're referencing a lot of this other stuff. We don't know maybe the full extent of gaming necessarily, but yeah, the big news there is definitely that the year 2027 being attached to Seven Havens is pretty new news. I think most people, when they saw the original announcement and that linking up with a lot of other information that we have from other things, we were all probably thinking that, like, if the movie's actually coming out in January, then if their plan is to release this stuff relatively back to back to back, surely they're not waiting like a full year before the next thing releases. Whereas the takeaway from this is obviously, like, if the movie actually comes out January 2026, the earliest is January 2027 for this then, and that's like a year. But is that actually going to be the plan? It might be a year and a bit later. Is that really in line with what they kind of said it would be? The reality of it is, I suppose, that we don't really know. They're only just getting into the region where they're actually going to deliver some of this, information to us for the first time, with it properly happening, planned out, and organizing the releases. Especially like if they have the projects after the first two kind of planned in a specific way, they probably want to have it that there's at least an Avatar project every year. Again, there's so much that we don't really know, because even the January date for the movie is that likely to change before we actually get to the marketing properly going? And then, of course, no month set for 2027. It's hard to really judge. But yeah, it's just nice to get something like that. It obviously speaks to the idea of, like, look, why are we getting that from Toy World magazine and not like Paramount, Nickelodeon themselves, or Avatar Studios? It's a very odd thing. I think ultimately a lot of us expected that with a big toy line like this, inevitably we were going to find out something about some of the projects somewhere down the line that comes from the toy line. And this is just the first example of that, where that is brand new news coming out from Toy World. Now, I'm assuming that because they specifically in this article kind of mention, they have an email here, Aang Statue here, who I think works in licensing at Paramount. I had a quick look up of that. That would, in my opinion, give the impression that, like, some of this stuff is coming from like a press release about what they are going to be doing at Licensing Expo. So the other kind of news maybe attached to this is just that, hey, coming up towards the end of the month, we need to maybe look at any information coming out of the Licensing Expo, and we might hear more about what's happening with Avatar stuff. Now, of course, the Avatar toy line's already been like announced as of like a little bit ago, Toy Fair, but we'd probably expect there to be some information at this as well, now that the toy line's going to be much closer to release. Are we going to get anything bigger than that? I'm not really sure, but there's always the chance that, like, maybe this is the time when they do that, because it's the Licensing Expo, and for the year ahead, it's going to be the year where, like, Avatar's properly getting going. So part of, like, what Paramount Avatar is going to happen with Avatar at the Licensing Expo is definitely going to be, hey, do you want the Avatar license, given that we've got a movie coming out and a new series coming out, and more. So there might be some information that comes out of this, but I assume a lot of that's going to be business deals kind of behind closed doors. But yeah, just nice to know, 2027 for Seven Havens. Next piece of news, another bit of publishing news. This one came out of nowhere. I don't think we were predicting this at all. So Amulet Books, aka Abrams, Avatar The Last Airbender, the Kyoshi Novels Ultimate Collector's Edition, The Rise of Kyoshi and the Shadow of Kyoshi, coming out 7th of October 2025. So it is the week before Awakening of Roku. So that's interesting. It's going to be $50 US, £35. They're listing it as 800 pages. There's no real information attached to this. As you can see, the description is pretty bare bones. It just says Amulet Fantasy Bind-Up Edition, which I think that's the direct confirmation. I think along with the fact that the page count is listed as like 800, it is both books in one here. It is a hardcover. So what exactly is this going to be overall? Because I think that page count gives us a lot of extra pages to work with, unless it's just like an estimate. Because like what... Rise of Kyoshi's like, what, 420 pages? And then Shadow of Kyoshi's like it's nearly like 100 pages shorter. So it still leaves you with probably like somewhere in the 60 to 40 page kind of left over. So I assume as an ultimate collector's edition, there's going to be some extras in this. There's going to be something special about this. That this can't just be like the two original covers just sort of like edited like together. Surely they have to have like maybe some sort of a new cover for this. I think that's going to be one of the big things they need to get right for this to appeal to people. I would say you pretty much have to have probably collected together, like at the very least, all of the exclusive stuff from previous releases. So the Barnes & Noble edition for Rise of Kyoshi, for Shadow of Kyoshi, the little booklet that came with the box set, like or if it is newer kind of extra content for this, they really need to kind of promote that a lot better. So I'm fascinated to see whenever the description goes up how in depth that they actually go in on this. I think even if it isn't that crazy on the extra front, I think I'm probably inclined to grab this. But and probably the only thing that would make me not get it is just if the cover is literally boring, kind of like some of the other stuff that's kind of happened recently. If it's just like slight edits like the paperback versions or what they've done for like the box sets, that will be a little bit frustrating. So I do hope there is something a little bit newer on the presentation side of things here. It would be really cool if they really emphasized that there's actually art of the characters in this or something like that to make it really, really noticeable. But I like the general idea here, given that we don't have the details yet. I like the idea of this, that at some point it seems like each of the duologies is going to be collected into this kind of mega hardcover special edition version. It just makes it feel like look, these novels have been a massive success, and now they're getting this kind of special deluxe treatment. That's always super, super cool to see. So yeah, I guess we'll find out about this relatively soon, because like we're 5 months away. They usually wait until maybe like 4 months to go to reveal a lot of this stuff. And again, I think we've caught this listing quite early, which maybe explains why it still has this. Because what the interesting point with this is that if you look up this listing will come up in a lot of places just without the avatar details. So it's clearly just changing from sort of placeholder listing to actual listing. So we'll probably have more information very, very soon is my guess. Final piece of news is this, a new statue that I had not heard about before. This is from Iron Studios, Avatar The Last Airbender Aang 110 scale, art scale, limited edition statue. Coming fourth quarter 2025 for $350 plus shipping. So let's jump into this. Straight away, I think there's some cool elements to this, but I'm also not hugely impressed, is probably what I would say. Just because, like, look, the effect parts on this looks really, really cool. It really does. But then there is stuff like, you know, the kind of mini Appa and some of the size comparison stuff in terms of like, what are we actually doing here when it comes to how big Aang is compared to like the top of this air temple and then Appa's down here. I think it's weirdly constructed in that like it feels like it's just everything sort of mashed together. I think if you zoom in on Aang a little bit more, I'm not sure I like the way they've done his face, where like his eyes seem huge. Some of the detailing here doesn't seem great. Like his arrow tattoo seems huge. And just some of the proportions on the actual like Aang, that is the centerpiece of the statue, just doesn't seem great for a $350 statue. Crafted with high quality resin, painted, you know, all this sort of stuff, made of polystone and other materials. Look, the materials aspect of this is probably really, really good. I just, to me, when you're doing these high-end statues, it needs to be perfect. It needs to sort of meet every possible criteria, because you are paying such a premium for such a, you know, specific high-end statue. And at least for me as a big Aang fan, this doesn't immediately stand out as this absolutely top of the line statue. Just some of it doesn't quite do it for me. Now, for other people, it might actually work perfectly. I just think there's some odd stylistic kind of approaches kind of with some of this stuff. There you can see some of the details of the dimensions to get a sense for how big it actually is. So again, for a $350 statue, is it even like that big? And it doesn't seem like excessively big for the price. And again, I think it is probably mostly that you're paying for the materials more than anything else. So unfortunately, not at all for me, especially at that price. But always nice to know that, hey, like, there's stuff happening here, of course. And you know, there's all these different places to look for all this stuff. There's lots of merch that like you can find all over the place when you really look into it, but there's the situation there. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up the video there. So let me know what your thoughts are on the new statue here from Iron Studios. What are your expectations for this Ultimate Collector's Edition for the Kyoshi novels? What do you want from this? What is required for you to make a second purchase realistically? What are your thoughts there? And then the big one here. What are your thoughts on apparently Avatar 7 Havens coming in 2027? Is that too far away for you? What are your thoughts on how this lines up with the information we currently have? Let me know below. But otherwise, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.